Welcome to another exciting episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, the place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. And today is no different. But before we bring up our next guest, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Shield Wolf Strongholds, a wealth growth and protection company when it comes to employee benefits, when it comes to estate planning, when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to life insurance. If your plan ain't Shield Wolf, your plan ain't strong. Now, our guest, who is Marcus Norman? Marcus is a dynamic entrepreneur with specialties in how to start an ATM business, house hacking, real estate investing, start a business versus buying a franchise as a franchisee, tips and secrets to growing a successful podcast as a podcast host professional, and investing in CBD and hemp, the cannabis industry expert. With a passion for sharing insights and empowering others, Marcus is ready to engage us with practical advice, inspiring stories, and actionable tips. Whether you're looking to start a new venture, grow your podcast, or explore the cannabis industry, Marcus has expertise to guide you. Marcus, welcome to the Entreprenudist Podcast.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Great show. I appreciate it. That was it's weird hearing yourself. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. How long have you been investing?
Great question. I've been investing since 2014, starting with real estate and then expanding to the other areas that you mentioned. But I've been investing and looking, for other ways to make my money work for me. Outside of a traditional 9-to-5 since 2014. It's been a while. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh yeah, you say make your money work for you. I like to say make my money make babies. All right. I say if you could impregnate $100 bill, would you not?
You would.
Most people say all night long. Is there nothing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?
There's probably a bunch of things I wish I knew back then. It's a lot of things I would do differently or tell myself if I could go back in time. Kind of the advice I kind of give to people is make sure you have a clear understanding how something works. How the thing, whatever vehicle that is, whether it be real estate, whether it be ATMs, whether it be passive income opportunities. When a guy coming to you about the MLM business, understand how that business makes money before you invest in anything, before that dollar leaves your pocket. So I think that's a summary of, of what I learned. Take the time, don't rush it, but understand how it makes money.
And having a clear understanding of how something works, that can be like a gray areas for some people, because with all of the industries that you are involved in, I don't believe that you're somebody who waits for perfection. How can somebody have a clear understanding of how something works, but not allow that perfection to be the enemy of good, to where they trying to get such a clear understanding that they never start?
Great question. So for me, I don't invest in cryptocurrency, right? From my understanding, that is a currency. People make money based off of the ebbs and flows of the market, but it's not an actual tangible currency. Hence its name, right? And there's some safeguards and there's some value there, right? The whole point of it not being tangible, where you could touch it, smell it, is that you can exchange it between continents. It doesn't cost the high fees of wire transfers or transferring money across borders. So but in essence, you don't, when you invest in something, you take your dollar to buy an asset, another asset. But in the world of crypto, the dollar is the asset. And in an inflationary market, that doesn't make sense. You wouldn't invest in another dollar. You would invest in an asset that's making more dollars, like we started the show with. And so that's an example of something I don't invest in. And I take the advice of now retired Berkshire Hathaway, the Oracle of Omaha, who's stepping down and just resigned this year, or next year, but he doesn't invest in things he doesn't understand, right? If I don't understand how I make money, how this business makes money, we all know how ATMs make money. That's an easy conversation to have. That's an easier, I won't say easy, but an easier conversation to have than selling someone life insurance where you have to show up prospectus to someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't have a working knowledge of how life insurance work. What's the difference between life insurance, whole life insurance, term life insurance, universal life, and all those things. And you need to, that needs a sit down conversation. But if I come to you and say, hey, I want to put my ATM in your office or your business or your bar or your restaurant, people have a genuine understanding, and the answer is more easy to come to, which is a yes. Go ahead, let's make money, because people have a working knowledge of how an ATM makes money. So that's how I simplify it. If you don't understand the thing, if someone comes to you and says, we're going to make so much money, okay, show me how. One podcast I recently watched was Kevin Hart's interview on the Diary of a CEO. And he says his superpower, Kevin Hart is multimillionaire, invests, been on Shark Tank, all these things. But he says his superpower has been that he has been the dumbest person in the room. And he knows how to work that to his advantage. No. Explain to me how this thing makes money. Don't tell me like I'm some long-term guru. You want my money. Explain to me how I make money in this thing. And he proudly boasts that and said, I have been the dumbest person in the room. He doesn't try to come in as an expert. He doesn't try to come in as anything other than his authentic self. And that was good, right? That's good. I think we all should have that approach. I'm not trying to prove anything to you. You're asking for my money. Tell me how I make money in this thing, and just treat it like that. So I hope that answered the question.
Oh, no, absolutely it does. Because it seems like what you're saying is when you say get clarity, it's not necessarily understanding all of the nuts and bolts, but having extreme self-awareness and saying, all right, common sense wise, how does 1 + 1 = 2? If you cannot figure out how 1 + 1 = 2, then you're not clear. And if you're not clear, then you shouldn't invest or get started. Doesn't mean you need to know it like every point now, right? Because one thing that I know about myself and a lot of the people that I work with that are very successful, everybody's building their plane while flying it, whether they want to admit it out loud or not. Everybody is still learning on a job per se. And it sounds like what you're saying is it's okay to understand that you're going to learn on the job. But if you can't common sense wise see why 1 + 1 = 2, then you're not clear.
Yeah. And it also challenges the person who's trying to sell you on the thing, right? It challenges the person who's the bona fide expert. If you're the expert at this thing and you're making money at it, you should be able to express it to me in a way that I understand. Right. And if you can, I would push back and say, well, I don't think you're the expert if you can't explain it to me in a way that makes sense. Right. And yes, there's a paradigm of we all learn in different ways and different methods of teaching. But for the most part, if you're truly an expert, you should be able to flip this on its back, explain it forwards, backwards, upside down, left and right until I get it. And if you can't, then I would challenge the person trying to ask me for my money to go back to the drawing board and try again, or seek someone else out who is willing to not be as engaging as I am. But yeah, and to that effect, yeah, keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Real estate, ATMs, vending machines, house hacking, those are concepts that are very easy to grasp. And even when reading about them, you read several depictions of it, but how you don't get stuck. I'm going to answer your other question. How you don't get stuck in analysis paralysis is you learn enough to not be taken advantage of. I went to school for accounting. I don't have a certification in accounting, but I went to school to get some insight on what a ledger is and how to balance a ledger and accounting. And what that does for me is, so when I hire an accountant, I still have an accountant that works for me, But when they explain something to me, it's harder for them to slip something past me because I understand what I'm looking at. Or I have and if I don't understand something, I stop my accountant and I say, explain this to me because this portion doesn't make sense, or there seems to be a bigger gap than you're alluding to here. And that's it. That's all you want. I don't need to have a certification. Too many people, they want to invest in real estate and they think, well, I'll just become a real estate agent. That's stupid. That's a lot of extra work for nothing, right? I'm perfectly fine with my real estate agent making a commission off of me buying real estate. I'm perfectly okay with that. And they deserve it, right? Because they're the ones that have the passion, the drive, and the initiative. But me now having to anything I want to invest in, I need to be the forward face of it. I think that's a silly thing to do. I don't need a certification or be an accountant to hire an accountant. I don't need to, in order to buy real estate, I need to get my real estate license. Sure, you save money because now you save on fees, but I find people who are like that are just trying to cut out the middleman. And I don't particularly have a problem with someone else making money with me. I think it's a selfish act. I don't have a problem with someone else making money and you and I making money together. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to make money and I want to make money. Why do I need to cut you out of the deal? I think that's part of our problem in America today. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the matter and how I've invested over the years.
Oh yeah, it sounds like there's no dumb questions, and you should seek expert advice, and you should be willing to ask questions that you don't understand to these experts. And then when you find that expert, to how you so eloquently put it, can flip it over, turn it to the side, put it up. I thought you was talking about something else for a second. But when you find that expert that knows how to put these different concepts in these different positions, that's probably your supporting staff. And you shouldn't feel less than by having people, because what it sounds like you said is a lot of the people that you've discovered, and I've discovered as well, people who don't hire different people, they think they're saving money when really they're not. There's actually a couple definitions, couple words. Like, let me ask you something, Marcus. When you hear the words idiot and imbecile, what's a one-word definition that comes to mind?
Idiot and imbecile, not intelligent. Got
it. Well, that's more than one word, but I'll take that.
Sorry.
A lot of people say stupid. A lot of people say dumb, right? Same thing. But I'm a wordsmith, Marcus, and I like to look up words, right? I looked up, and just so you know, my introduction to these words, because my granddaddy was a wordsmith as well. He was one of those people that even back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, like he had the full encyclopedia set, the full Webster's dictionary set, and of course he taught us what he knew as well. And one thing that he would tell me about the words idiot and imbecile, and if you look in the old Webster dictionary, this is what it says. It says an idiot is somebody with the mental capacity from 0 to 3 years old. An imbecile is somebody with the mental capacity of 3 to 7 years old. And when you look at the definition now on Google, it just simply says somebody that's stupid. But what I did was I looked up the origin of these words, and come to find out, the origin of the word idiot meant a private person. The origin of the word idiot, the definition is a private person. Now, where they was describing it, where if you were with the Senate, you were considered a public citizen, and if you were part of the normal masses, you were considered a private person. And it just so happens that the people in the government back then, and some might say they haven't changed their way of thinking, the people in the government back then considered the regular general public to be idiots, private citizens. And then it developed over time to become stupid, right? But then I said, hold up. Well, if the origin of the word idiot is a private person, I wonder what the origin of the word imbecile is. I looked up the origin of the word imbecile. The definition is a person without a supporting staff. And what they're talking about is a staff like a stick. But, all these words are the same because you use a human staff to help you do things. Like you can use a stick to defend yourself. You can use a stick to keep you upright. You can use a stick to reach for something, just like you can use your supporting staff, your experts to do different things for you. And I said, well, it seems like if you're somebody who doesn't work with experts and somebody who tries to keep everything private to yourself and don't find the right people to work with to be your supporting staff, you're an idiot and you're an imbecile. And I'm not even insulting you. That's just the definition of the word.
You're a private person who doesn't utilize staff.
Supporting staff.
Supporting staff. Yeah. Yeah. That aligns. Good. I like that. I like that. Well
it's
said.
Very good. So how did you get started in investing, Marcus?
Great question. I started in investing. I'm a Navy veteran of 8 years. And when I got out of the military in 2014, I got out of the military. And like the veterans of my time, it was very difficult to find work. And so I'm on the job hunt and I'm applying for different positions. And I came across a future employer who interviewed me, and they liked my gusto. They liked my chops. They liked my composure and how I expressed myself. And they mentioned MLM, multi-level marketing. That's what it ultimately became. But she invited me over to an event that she was hosting, and it was a wonderful world of multi-level marketing. I don't think the agency is still in existence today. Made no money at it. Did the program, fell in love, saw all the hype, the Bentleys, the cars, the potential for money. Never made a dime in it. But one of the things I was also exposed to, and I think that's common across most multiple level marketing companies, is the leadership team tries to make you a better leader. And they get you involved with a lot of reading and mentioning different books and different things. So that's how I came across the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. And I started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Made sense to me. Purchased the Cash Flow Quadrant, read that series. And I then was like, well, I have this 5-bedroom house. I'm in this 5-bedroom house. It's just me by myself. Let me house hack. That's the thing that was also coined on Bigger Pockets as well. Because now I'm invested, right? I'm learning about real estate. And I house hack, and I had posted a job ad at I think early in the morning. And within 1 hour, I had a response. Within the second hour, I had someone at the door to come view the room that I was renting out that I posted pictures about. And the third hour, the person had first month's, last month's, and security deposit in hand, paid me. And that was the quickest amount of money I'd ever made in 3 hours, much less a day. And so I was hooked since then and got into my first investment, which was real estate, which was house hacking my own house. And needless to say, I rented out the remaining rooms because I saw, and I just watched, rinse, and repeat. And now I'm living in my own primary home, and I'm pocketing my income, my money, but I'm also making money from what my tenants are paying me to rent a room in my space. And so I started looking into other investments and continuing like, okay, I got this much cash. What do I do with it? Right. And it snowballed. It snowballed. I became curious and I became hungry for knowledge, hungry for new opportunities, because again, when you work a 9 to 5, and I was working, right. And I was working the physical, but the physical wears out. And so I started flipping, well, I'm gonna work this physical, but I need to work this and exercise this. And my mind was forever expanded and ever changed. But real estate was my first investment.
Oh yeah. A lot of people, when they think about how to get started and what it takes to get going, a lot of people might look at that MLM situation and be like, and I didn't make any money. It was a terrible experience. I got nothing out of it. But what I like about you is not only do you seem very transparent, but what I like about you is you went ahead. Even though you didn't make what you thought you wanted to make, you saw the silver lining. You realized that engagement was what got you to the book, which what got you to work. Have you always been a silver lining type of guy, or did you have to work toward finding the lesson in the loss?
Yeah, in your journey, I think I've always been the person to say, okay, what was the lesson here? What did I learn? What did I get from this? Even working with people who didn't always seem to have my best interest at heart, or organizations or companies or whatever the case may be, there's always a lesson there. And it was like, if I say nothing else, I learned a lot. Right. And I think most people can have that mindset shift, because that's all it is. It's a mindset shift. Looking at something and saying, well, I didn't gain what others may have gained from this, but I've gained something far more valuable, which is knowledge and insight and wisdom. I had a conversation with a gentleman, and I was really impressed by myself. Kind of like to your question, where it's like, what would you go back and give yourself? I had a question with a gentleman who's selling a website, and he's selling the website for XYZ dollars, but the website only makes this amount of money. And so it makes this amount of money, but he's selling it for this, to give you a picture for those watching. And I was shocked and amazed because what he's telling me about his company, I scheduled a phone call with him to talk to him about potentially buying this website from him. And he's good at what he's good at, which is building websites, marketing, SEO optimization, all those things. But what he's not good at is negotiating. He does it, and he doesn't understand that he's severely and drastically overpriced. And he doesn't understand that. I know he's overpriced. And so, and I was amazed by that. I was able to distinguish that without, and again, that's just because of years and years of learning from these seemingly bad situations. But that just came over time. And so everything is a learning experience, and it makes you better. And yeah, I've always been optimistic and change my mindset type of guy.
And I definitely want to get into the house hacking and the ATM stuff. But one thing that I learned, because I'm somebody that observes body language, right? And, you know, what's the first thing that people say as soon as that they find out somebody is in the military or was in the military, is a veteran? What's the first thing you hear people say to you?
Thank you for your service.
One thing that I observed, because I'm a body language guy, I say, hold up. When I say thank you for your service, their body language don't feel like they really like enjoyed that question. And so I started asking my veteran friends, I was like, hold on. So what should I say when I find out that somebody's a veteran, somebody is in the service? This is what they told me. And these are different people in different locations. And ever since then, I've been asking this question whenever I find out somebody's been in the service, and it always gets a great response. It can be a short response or a long response, but it's always a great response. What made you join?
Are you asking that to me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what made me join? I'm from the Virgin Islands, and I joined because my dad had a very firm conversation with me. He comes to me the day after my prom, and he sits me down and he says, "Son, I messed up. I have no college savings for you. I have no money set aside for you. And, you know, I messed up. I wasn't able to put away and invest in your future." And I said, you know, no problem, Dad. And I had friends who had graduated ahead of me, and just hearing and seeing how much student loan debt they were running themselves into. So I had already been conditioned and already had framed up in my mind to join the military as a means to escape my island. And explore, and again, advance my horizons and advance myself and better myself. Nothing's wrong with my island per se, but I needed to see something else besides my island. And so I joined the military so I could explore and be exposed to different things and different people and different cultures and different opportunities, the same opportunities that I'm talking about today. I probably wouldn't be here today as prolific and knowledgeable had I just stayed in my box, my comfort zone, so to speak. And so that's why I joined the military, is to get away, get out of comfort zone, but still be in a safe space, right? When you join the military, you oftentimes you're independent, but you're not by yourself, and you have a lot of supervision. You have a lot of you get a paycheck, you get a clothing, you get uniforms, you get a lot of safeguards to help protect you while you're still learning to be independent for the first time. And sometimes people blow past those guardrails, but for the most part, it's a way to get away without completely, the horror stories of parents kicking their kids out as soon as they make 18. I don't think that's the answer. The military allowed me to leave my parents' home, but still be in a safe space and surround myself with good, wholesome people who hopefully and ultimately mean well for me as a whole. So
Absolutely.
that's why I joined.
A safe space with structure, and that is the common
Absolutely.
answer. Hey, I joined to get away. And and a lot of people feel like, all right, it ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish. And that's what I say. Okay, the reason why people seem to not be so accepting of that gratitude is because in their minds they think, well, I didn't join for no big old patriotic reason. I joined to get away, right? But once again, it don't matter why you start, it's how you finish. And definitely appreciate. I don't care why you got there, but I'm glad you did. You were there helping out. So what exactly is house hacking?
House hacking is where you rent a space that you also occupy yourself. It could be what I did, which is, again, I had a single family home. So one house that had too many bedrooms that I can't sleep in. It was a 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath. So that's one version of house hacking. The other house hacking, I don't advise anyone to do this, is some people try it with subleasing, right? They'll try it with their apartment. They have an additional bedroom or two in their apartment, and they'll try and sublease the bedrooms. That more than likely there's a clause in your lease agreement that doesn't allow that. But the other third one that I found was if you buy a multi-unit building. So if you have a 2-bedroom, which is a duplex, a 4-plex, 3-plex, triplex, and you live in one of the vacant units and you lease out the additional unit or units for income. So that's house hacking because you still live there, but people convert their garage, right? They convert their garage into an additional bedroom, typically for the kids. But when the kid hopefully moves out, eventually you can still use that space. And now it's providing an additional source of revenue for you. So that's house hacking, using this asset using this building that's a liability, right? Your house is a mortgage that you have to pay monthly, and you have to have costs, expenses, and you pay water, lights, gas, and maintenance. That's a liability. That's not an asset. But you change where it balances on your ledger, and now you've converted something that was a cash drain to now a cash flowing asset. And so that's house hacking to me. You've now turned this thing, just like your car. It's not a house, but you're hacking your car when you turn your car and you list it on Uber, and now you're driving for Uber. Now your vehicle is making you money versus just burning gas and going nowhere. That's a hack, right? Because you flipped what this original item was used for, and you flipped it to something else. You've hacked it.
I get it. Because, typically when people hear the term hacking, they connect it to being able to get into something that they're not supposed to be into. And it sounds like what you're saying is hacking when it comes to the house and the car. You take something that's supposed to be a liability, but converting it into a cash flowing asset.
Yeah. In investment terms, that's what it means. But you've hacked it to where you flipped something that its common use is this, and you've hacked it to where it's now can be used for something else. So you've hacked it and reprogram and restructure the thing. Even hackers, in order to break through your firewall, they have to hack and break through something that was a norm. So this is the norm. Your car is designed to take you to work, take you to the doctor, and you've hacked it to make it do something else entirely.
Okay, so we got to talk about the Lifetime Network movie possibility. You just hacked your house.
Mhm.
You got 4 rooms and 3 people that you don't know from Sam living in there. Do you not have any funny stories that you can share, you or any of your clients? Because I know, once again, you have to look at the good and the bad, and you got to weigh it, right? And if somebody is in a situation of hacking their house when they're first starting out, they're hacking a house that they are in one of the rooms, probably the master bedroom, and then the other rooms are filled. But now you got somebody sharing your kitchen, sharing your common area. What are some of the pros, but some of the cons of having that in your house?
Great question. No one's ever really asked that. The pros was the compensation, right? I had priced each room for what each occupant was getting. So each room came with basic cable, basic internet, Wi-Fi. There was no additional utilities. So the benefit to the occupant was a flat rate. Pay me a lump sum of money, $800, $700 a month, and that covered everything, right? That covered your water, your lights, your gas, your utilities, your cable. Each room, I had installed a television, a mounted television in each room. So, and they had really strong Wi-Fi connection throughout the whole house. And so that was really compelling. Also, the neighborhood that the house was in was, it had a pool. So, and it had walking trails. So if you're a hiker, a biker, a swimmer, you could go and utilize those services in the community as well. And that was included in your price. So you got a lot for, in my opinion, a little bit. So that was the pros. And again, the compensation to me. The cons, the funniest thing, one of the many funny things that happened to me is I had leased to this lesbian couple. And literally they had moved in, and then I got a veteran that moved in next door. And she, from what I understand, she was not lesbian. She was straight. So when she moved in, the couple who had already moved into the adjacent bedroom next door, they started developing emotions for each other and fell in love. And literally, I am negotiating and becoming the middleman in a dispute between all 3 women. And they're, literally one of the girlfriends would leave and go next door and cheat on her partner who's across the room from her. And the military girl who had moved in now is lesbian. She flipped her, turned her out, I guess. And the original partner decided to move out. And so I had them sign an agreement that, hey, she's moving out. You're going to stay with your new partner. But I'm going to give her back the security deposit, and you have to sign saying you're okay with that, because now you're a joint. But it was a mess. It was a mess. Just to experience that, that was not a thing. And then when the girl got with the military lady, she would deploy. She would go off on deployments, and how you get them is how you find them and how you lose them. The girl, when she would go off on deployments, she would cheat on her partner with men.
Exactly.
So she's going on deployments. You came in as a lesbian, and now you're inviting guys to the house and sleeping with the guys at my house. And I just said, listen, I'm not.
And you observing all of it.
I'm seeing all of this, right? I'm downstairs in the master bedroom, and I'm going out either to an event or have dinner or whatever. And I'm passing a guy who's now I've never seen before. And they're going up to the bedroom, and she's like, yeah, I'd like you to meet Curtis. And I'm like, okay, Curtis, that's not your partner. Oh, your partner is deployed. Okay. And it was a hot mess, but I got stories for days, man. It was a learning experience.
And I would imagine she got off on knowing that you were a witness, right? I can imagine that was one, like, knowing that you were an unparticipating contributor to her stuff. That probably got her off even more. I'm gonna be honest. If I think about human psychology, she like he's an accomplice. He's an unwilling accomplice. But I'm getting off on knowing that, and I'm sure he's probably not going to say nothing.
Yeah, it made no difference to me. Your lifestyle is your lifestyle. I don't judge anyone for their lifestyle, but it was just, and then again, she would do that. And then the partner would come back from the deployment and she would accuse her of cheating while she's on deployment. I'm like, it was a complete mess. It was a complete mess. And it was just like, it was wild.
Oh yeah, and it's all about like you say, launching in, because I imagine there's a version of Marcus that's looking to get into house hacking, and then he hears a story about these relationships and never start. It's actually about just figuring it out. My granddaddy owns rooming houses to this day. He's owned a rooming house for decades. Incredible. And one thing that he learned is, and this is something that he had to learn from himself. He say, I don't rent a room to couples anymore, because a lot of couples aren't as what's the word I'm looking for? They aren't as willing to collaborate to make a successful dissolution as that couple was. A lot of times, once one of the members of the couple is gone, that single member can't afford that room by themselves. Right. Absolutely. So now you're going through this whole process of going through this, figuring it out. And so what my granddaddy had to do was he had to make a rule, because he also, what he discovered is when he would rent to a woman by herself. Now, there are a lot of places that rent solely to women, right? But he discovered that he can't rent to women in the rooming house, because what ends up happening is when they couldn't pay, all of a sudden there was they felt uncomfortable. There's some type of harassment, right? So he had to make a rule. All right, I don't rent to couples. I don't rent to women. But that was a part of his process of saying, all right, and this is what I do. I rent to single men, and this is what keeps my rooming house going forward. Did you have to set any rules throughout this process to who you can and can't rent to?
Yeah, there was some just unspoken rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't ever want to be toted, or I've rented to women before, and she was an HR professional, and so she knew exactly what to say, how to say. Right, she knows the law. So, but you definitely develop certain criteria that you look for. You definitely develop certain characteristics that you look for. And then as I expanded my real estate, I had bought a duplex. I had one tenant who, come to find out, she was cooking commercially in my house, in my duplex. Oh my God. And, she kept, because what happened, she kept breaking. I would get a phone call. She kept breaking the stove. And she kept breaking it and breaking it and breaking. And I kept having to send maintenance out to repair it. And I said, what is going on? I asked the guy, just when you go in there, find out what the heck is going on. How do you break a stove? And she was cooking commercially. She would cook these big, large pots and meals, and then she would sell them for money. And so being an entrepreneur myself, I'm not going to knock your hustle, and I'm not going to evict you, because that allows her to pay me rent. So I just upgraded. Once I knew that, I upgraded her stove to a commercial grade stove, and I put it in the house. I didn't evict her. I could have, by all means, I could have legally evicted her. I had everything I needed to evict her, but I said, no, let me just upgrade you, because this is what allows you and affords you the ability to pay rent. So I upgraded her stove to a commercial grade. But those are the scenarios that you walk through, and I've walked in and again learned and grew into the leader, the influencer that I am today.
You're a very wise man, very wise, because everything that I'm getting from you is, what's the problem? What's the solution? Just because it isn't what I originally thought or what I originally said, now that I know what's going on, how do I fix it? Keep this person being a money generating member of society, so that I can keep them in this house safely, and so they get all these pros and I get these pros as well.
Yeah, it's a win-win. She doesn't break my stove anymore because it's a high capacity, multi-use stove and high grade, high heat stove. But again, it's not, and it's allows her to pay rent. I'm not going to knock you and say, I think that's the wildest thing you could do. I'm going to spend all this money to evict you when I could just simply make this adjustment to the appliances in the house and protect the house and everybody wins. You make money, you continue to make money, you get to serve your clients. You get to see people while they're naked, so to speak. I guess that falls in line with the entrepreneurs, right? You get to see people fully naked. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little naked to see people for who they are. So yeah.
Absolutely. How much capital do you need to invest in ATMs?
Great question. So the ATMs that I invest in are brand new. What you'll find out there in the industry is people often try and sell ATMs used. I never subscribed to that model, especially when first getting started. I used all cash. And that price can range from anywhere from $1,500 used, that's a used model, all the way up to $4,500 to buy an ATM. And then you also need cash to prime the pump, right? So you need cash to actually put into the ATM so that you can prime the pump once and start generating money, because you have to initially put the cash in the ATM. So people make their withdrawals, there's actual money coming out of the machine. So you need several $1,000s. This is not, I had someone just randomly walk up to the street of me because they saw what I was doing. And they're like, hey, I want to invest in the ATMs with you. I said, okay, what do you got? What do you have to contribute to this? And they're like, well, I want to learn from you. I want to mentor for you. That's a grenade to me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what do you have? And he's like, how much money do you have? And he's like, I got $200. I said, you're not ready. You're not anywhere ready to work with me, right? You don't have cash. You don't have marketing. You don't have advertising. You don't have hustle. You're walking up to me and you're basically asking me to teach you this for free. And it's not going to do anything with you. There's been people I've taught and showed the way, and they've done nothing with it. But the starting point should be, I need to get myself together, right? So before you ever approach me or anyone, any professional, have something to offer.
Something to offer. Okay, so sounds like in order to get started with the ATM business, you can either get a used one at approximately $1,500 or a new one at approximately $4,500. And it seems like you, based off what you've learned, you have nothing against somebody starting with a used ATM, or if they can afford it, they should get the brand new.
So a good wholesome, if you see a price lower than $1,500, you should be very questionable. When I got into this business, when I first got into the ATM business, we were right on the line where we made that chip switch to every debit card, credit card had to have the chip reader in it. And then businesses had to upgrade their Square readers to accept chip. So I got started into this business right when that happened. So one of the predominant things where people were selling used ATMs, and they never put two and two together, and they bought old ATM models that didn't have an enabled chip reader. So a lot of people got in trouble. So that's the line that you tote with a potential buying a used one.
Okay, so it sounds like if you're going to purchase a used ATM, look up all the compliances and make sure that it lines up to the compliance, such as a chip reader, but also still be a little leery because it might be a reason why they're selling it.
There's always a reason why they're selling it. There's no reason why would you sell a cash flowing
I'm having a great time here.
Why would you sell it? There's always a reason. So yeah, get with a mentor, and really partner with them. Don't just say you want a mentor and then have nothing to contribute, but get with someone who's done this and say, hey, Marcus, I or whoever, I got an ATM. I'm looking at it. It's $200. I'll go look at it with you. And I've been doing this for years now. And so I can spot the foolishness and the silliness, or, so yeah, get with someone or do your research. Research is a lot harder in this space, and looking up the compliance stuff, because it's not readily available. It's a cash business, so it's not readily available. I've just learned over the years of doing it.
Okay, so all right, let's say I'm somebody I want to avoid the potential hassles, so I went ahead and bought a new one for $4,500. And what I need about $1,500 to prime it, or more or less.
You could start with less. I started with less, but it wasn't easy. And the cash you're going to need to prime the pump $1,500 is good. That's a good amount depending on the business you're putting it in. If you're putting it in a casino, that's not going to be enough. If you're putting it in a shopping center, that's enough. That could be enough. That could last you a minute as you build up cash reserves. If putting it in a bar, how active is the bar? How long the bar been in existence? What's the client? When is the busy season, or when is what drives the revenue? There's bars that have the gambling side of the house. They have a smoking lounge. What's in the bar, right? Does it serve food, or does it just serve alcohol? What's going to generate people to use that ATM? So 1,500 is a good starting amount. I would give you that. You could start with less. But again, I started with $500 in my ATM. Needless to say, I was filling up that thing every day, right? Because that's such a low amount that I had to actively fill it up a lot.
Got it. So boom, I bought my my ATM for $4,500. I just primed it for $1,500. I'm coming every couple of days to fill out, or I'm available. How do I find somewhere to put it? Or how do I find somebody willing to let me put it in their establishment? And what's the typical agreements amongst the ATM holder and the establishment owner?
Fair enough. I did several interviews with a mentor of mine on my podcast called Gentleman Style Podcast. So you guys can check out that episode. He's a long-term expert, has hundreds of locations. But for an ATM placement, I did in the beginning, I knocked door to door. But what door to door doesn't mean walk up to strangers. Who do you currently go to? Your barber, your girlfriend has a stylist, or your partner has a salon that she works at. Walk into those places, right? Walk into pre-existing businesses that you already utilize their services. Hey, are you at a laundromat? Do you wash your clothes at a laundromat? Hey, do you notice there's a laundromat? There's an ATM at the laundromat you serve. That would be added value to that laundromat business that you already frequent and you already patronize. So walking door to door doesn't have to mean I'm walking to strangers. Is there a liquor store in your local community? Is there a liquor store in your local area? That may be of value to that owner to have an ATM in their liquor store, because they're already in the poorest demographic. They don't place liquor stores in wealthy areas. They place them in poor communities. So an ATM in a liquor store may be of value to you. And those are places that you may already frequent. And a liquor store can lead to connections to bar owners, because bar owners buy their liquor from the liquor store. Here in Virginia, where I'm located, it's called an ABC store. So those are state-owned liquor stores. And the bars all buy their liquor from the ABC store. So if I can leave some business cards at this liquor store, and a business owner who's opening up a new bar or has an existing bar is looking for an ATM, and he comes across my business card, there's a high chance he's going to call me.
How are the establishment owners compensated? Is the only compensation my customers are convenienced because they can use this ATM, or does the ATM owner have to sweeten the pot?
You don't have to sweeten the pot. I've had business owners that didn't want any additional profits from the ATM other than the cash that their clients are now paying them with. So I've had business owners that they were perfectly fine with me installing an ATM, and they didn't want a percentage of the fee that I collect per transaction. They were perfectly fine with the cash because they no longer have to pay Square or the credit card processing fees and all those exorbitant fees. And so there are businesses out there that just want easy access for their clients to pay them cash. But if the owner brings it up, or you can bring it up, you can offer them a percentage of the fee per transaction to split it with them and pay them out on a monthly basis. You can offer that.
Okay, so you can, but you don't have to, because it sounds like the hurt point that the ATM owner can mention, say, hey, you can avoid all these extra fees by having them pay cash, and we'll handle all that. But if what's considered too much of a split? Like I know, we don't want to it seems like we don't want to make it a habit of having to split with establishment owners. But what would be too much of a split?
What would be too much of a split? So what you have to do is you have to look at what do you want to make per transaction. So the gentleman that I interviewed on my show, he at a minimum says every transaction he wants to make $2. That's his hard, fast number. So if the ATM charges $4, he already crosses off $2. He's going to make, no matter what, $2. And so that leaves $2 to offer the business owner on the table. The business owner may want the entire $2, but you can have that just in ammunition and say, hey, I'll give you 50 cents. And the business said, nah, give me $1. So, okay, I'll give you $1. Well, guess what? The business owner is happy because you gave him the $1 out of the $4 fee. Guess what? You just got an extra $1. So the business owner is happy, right? Because he got his $1. You offered him 50 cents per transaction. He said, no, I want $1. Here's your $1, Mr. Business Owner, no problem. But you went in with data and you already came in with your baseline. I just need to make 2. Now I'm making 3. So the negotiation can go so many ways. What's too much is I literally went to a business owner and he was like, I want the whole fee. I was like, you want the whole fee. So if it's $4, you want the entire $4. He's like, yeah. I said, oh, I'm sorry. You must have wanted to buy the ATM from me. So if you want a number on how much to buy the ATM from me, I can give you that price. No. I don't want to buy it from you, but I want the whole fee. So I'm confused. Who's going to fill the machine? Who's going to put cash in this machine? And he's like, you are. You're going to fill it. You own it. You're going to maintain it, but I'm going to collect the entire profit.
What he is in the mafia? He's trolling you?
No, he was dead serious. He was, I hate to make it racial, but I tend to have those kinds of experience when dealing with people from Arab or Indian communities. And so he was next to a gas station. He didn't own the gas station, but he was butt to butt next to a gas station. So that's huge traffic. And then in his shop, he sold snacks and chips and drinks, but he also cooked hot food. And so that was a selling point. And then in his same building, he had sectioned off a portion of his store for gambling. And so he was making money 3 ways to kingdom come. And he already had an existing ATM in there. And I saw it and I said, you already have an ATM. Why are you even calling me? And he's like, well, this one only dispenses $20 bills. I want your machine to dispense $10 bills. So he can have a diversity of cash for his gamblers, his food, his restaurant. He wanted the diversity of cash. Well, I said, I could give you an ATM that dispenses both 20s and 10s, and I can kick him out. You don't even need him. But we got to figure out this fee. Because I'm not going to give you the whole thing. This got to be worthwhile to me. And he was just unwilling. And I looked at his brother because his brother is the one who called me, who saw my advertisement and called me. And his brother just put his head down. He's like, he knew it was a bad deal. His brother knew it was a bad deal. But the man was straight faced, dead serious. I'm supposed to make no money, maintain the ATM, fill up the ATM, troubleshoot the ATM, fix the ATM for no money. And I asked him just plainly, what's the benefit to me to do that? Why would I do that? And he said, oh, it's advertisement. And I just walked out. I said, that was the silliest conversation I had ever had. And the brother called me back, tried to apologize, tried to get me to come back to the negotiating table. I came back one more time and he was just still on the same dumb stuff. So that's what's asking for too much. It has to make sense.
Yeah, and I think it's universal. That same demographic. Now with what I do, I definitely stand to make a lot of money lining up with that demographic, but it's not easy. Like you really got to get into the weeds to get what Chris Voss says, find the black swan, because it's like you said, it's like a hack. Using your words, they're always looking for a hack. And I'm not against that, but it takes a lot of patience to find the black swan with them, meaning that value that they don't consider valuable, but it makes all the value to us. And that a lot of times that's the only way that you're able to work out a deal, by finding what they don't consider valuable and aligning it with what you have going on. So I'm
if you
about to
think
ask,
if you think about a community, they come from a community that haggles, right? When they go to the local fish market, they're used to haggling. They want you to fight with them. And so if you think about that demographic and where they come from culturally, it makes more sense.
Absolutely. Now, it's one thing that everybody's been waiting, because, we're getting close to the end of the podcast. Everybody wants to know, how can they become a professional street pharmacist, right? And that's what we used to call it back in the day when I grew up. How did you get into investing in CBD and hemp?
Great question. So there's a platform called Start Engine, and Start Engine it's not made by Kevin O'Leary, but Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary is a spokesperson for the platform. And Start Engine is a platform of companies and organizations similar to WeFunder. It's a platform where people are looking to start up a business, have aspirations for a business, and you can invest in and buy shares in their business. And the different various businesses, you have everything from Fanbase, which is a new and upcoming social media platform. They're on there. The latest electric vehicle, cancer research, medical platforms looking for investors. And so I found this company that were looking for investors, and they were trying to raise a certain amount of capital. But the unique thing is that they were offering that other people on the platform were not offering, which was unique, was if you bought a certain amount of shares in the company, they gave you one of their vending machines that was HIPAA compliant, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence incorporated, and age verification technology. And wow, that's the industry, right? The industry is to make sure that a minor could not buy hemp or CBD or cannabis who's underage. And if you invested a certain amount of money, you got one of those machines as a investment perk. And so I watched the company for a number of years as they went from seed to startup to actually launching their first location in New York, and seeing how much of a success it blew up into over the years. And one of the catalysts that made me invest the necessary capital was they won a major contract with a major shopping mall investment firm that owned, it was called Preet and REIT. It's a real estate investment trust that owns a lot of the major shopping malls in the United States, and big shopping malls, not small ones. So not the little mom and pop one that you see that has, like, I'm talking shopping centers that in Maryland, shopping centers in Texas, big shopping centers, and that are still doing well and did well even during the pandemic. We're still in operation. And so when they won that major contract, it was a huge catalyst, because now, and I looked it up, I followed the company, that the real estate investment trust, and they actually own 2 shopping malls in my state.
Wow.
And so when they won that contract, they needed to place vending machines in those malls, and they needed someone to invest and manage them. So that's when I took off and I invested the necessary funds to now to then manage those investments and those vending machines. And again, I come from the world of ATM investing, so a vending machine is not too far off from what I'm already familiar with. I, again, understand how you make money, and I understand how a vending machine makes money. So that's how I got into that business.
And all right. So one last question on the vending and the ATM. Do you fill these things yourself, or do you utilize people to fill them for you? And how does that affect your margins if you do?
So you make more margins. Again, the The vending machines I fill myself. I have a portfolio of about 13 ATMs that I manage myself. I don't hire anyone. And the reason for that is because the people that have come across me don't have the money themselves. I'm not going to give you $5,000, a random stranger. I'm not going to give you $5,000. You'll disappear. So what has been the catalyst for that is, hey, come with your own money and invest and put your money in it. And then you'll fill the ATM and I'll give you a percentage of that and I'll pay you from that. But the majority of people don't, like I said, don't have $5,000. The average American, over 50%, doesn't have $500 for their car insurance deductible. So I still manage my portfolio of ATMs myself. The cannabis dispensary vending machines, I no longer, I'm phasing out of that business. But yes, I stock those and manage those myself. And the margin on that is about 40% because you buy the product wholesale and then you sell it retail. And the margin on that, to give you an example, there's a pack of pre-roll flower joints that come in a 5-pack. It comes in one container and there's 5 pre-roll joints. That container is $9 to buy wholesale. You sell one container, one tube of 5 pre-roll joints for $35.
Wow.
So it cost me $9 to buy it and I sell it to you for $35.
Wow.
So there's a lot of margin. So the whole box that it comes in, I spent $72 for it and I sell it for $150 plus. If you sold a whole box, you would make $150 plus to sell all 8 containers.
So that does bring up one more question about the cannabis. What's the reason that you're deciding to phase out?
I'm going into franchising. So I bought a franchise and now my focus and attention is on that investment. People don't think of the end, right? People don't think of leveling up. So they buy a bunch of real estate and hold on to the real estate forever. But what makes more sense? I'm going to hold on to a net value of $300,000 worth of real estate, but then I bought a $500,000 business. You have to there's a leveling up, right? And so in business, those are considerations that people need to make, but people often don't do. They buy and hold real estate and they sell the real estate and then they go to Bahamas or they go to Dubai. You wasted your investment. I took $300,000 and bought a $500,000 to $1 million business. That's a level up. And so I'm now expanding into franchising and building out this franchise business. So that's why.
Man, all right. So, I mean, I'm going to have to get your permission because, I typically talk to people for 30 to 45 minutes. We're already above the 60-minute mark, but you keep dropping it's a couple ways we can do this, Marcus. You can either spend about 15 to 20 more minutes with me so I can try to get into this franchise.
Sure. Let's go for it.
Going on. All right, let's go. So, all right. So what type of franchise is this and what made you decide to buy into a franchise instead of starting from the ground up?
Because starting from the ground up, similar to what I shared with you earlier, a lot of people said, oh, I want to invest in real estate. Let me go get my real estate license. And then they try and build a real estate business from scratch. Whereas I can buy into an existing model who's already done the research, already done all the legwork and kind of categorize and done all the market research that I would have to do on my own. And so, and I think more people, there's a couple YouTubers on social media that are really advocating to buying businesses. We need to get out of this mindset of I had a friend years ago. She does hair, she does weaves, and she does hair. And she came to me, Marcus, I'm going to be a mobile stylist. I'm going to start doing hair and I'm going to drive to my customers. And I said, why are you going to do that business? Well, no one else is doing it. And I told her, I said, there's a reason for that. Do you honestly believe you are the first woman who does hair to think outside the box that I'm going to just drive to people's house and make a killing? You're not the first woman to think of that. Trust me. And she said, oh, it'll be different with me. I'm better at it. So she tried it. It failed because it wasn't advantageous to the distance between housing and all the driving around and all the maintenance she had to do to her car. It wasn't economical. So and the business failed. like I tried to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
There's an advantage to buying an existing established business that you can skip all the startup. And this is coming from someone who has also started businesses from the ground up. So I know how hard it is. I know what it takes. I know how difficult it is. Well, what if you could skip some of that headache and buy an already established business? And so the franchise is a mental health practice. And so I bought into a mental health franchise that allowed me to learn from 20, 30 years of experience and wisdom and people who had already been doing this at the level of the $1 million plus. Because in order to better yourself, you have to surround your people with people who are better and in the places and spaces that you aren't in. Mm-hmm. And so buying this franchise allowed me and my co-owner to put ourselves and strategically place ourselves around people who had already been in the industry. So right out of the gate, we have 20 plus years of experience because of buying into an existing business versus starting from the ground up. And so I hope that answered that question.
No, it definitely did, because what you're saying is a lot of times people go through that bump in their head phase when it comes to their business. And unfortunately, most businesses fail within the first 3 to 5 years. And it sounds like what you're saying is if you buy into a franchise, not definitely, but the probability of success greatly increases because you have the mental access that you need, the experience access that you need. And also what a lot of people don't consider is when it comes to getting money, capital from banks, a lot of times because you bought into a franchise instead of starting your own business, capital is more easily accessible because you have a proven business model that works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I play with the word franchise because I don't want people to get caught up solely on buying a franchise. That's what me and my co-founder decided to do. I want people to think more about the box of just buying a business in general. Buy a existing business, buying Entreprenudist.com. It's an existing podcast. It has the followers, it has engagements, it has the data that you can just skip past and already get. So yes, I bought a franchise that worked out for my vernacular, but I really want to stress a little bit more buying businesses, buying perceived business. Right now, there's an epidemic in China, in Japan, where there are a lot of businesses closing, not because they're not doing well, because there's no one there to buy them. You have grandma and grandpa who built this business, this pharmacy, this restaurant, this store, and the restaurant has been in business for 30 years, serving. Grandpa, grandma can no longer do it. Their kids are leaving Japan and coming to the United States. And now grandma and grandpa, after 30 years, have to close their doors because none of their kids want the existing business. And this is a crisis in Japan. There's a lot of investment capital moving overseas to buy up some of these businesses, these existing businesses. I went to my barber. Again, I'm using myself as an example. I did what I'm trying to convey here. I went to my barber. For years, he has told me, I want to open a second shop. His biggest competition in the area is a guy who owns 8 barbershops, and he's still trying to get to number 2 barbershop. So I said, I have some capital. You have the expertise because he's been cutting hair for 30 years. Let's see what we can come up with here. And let me buy into an existing business that has a proven track record, has the clientele, has the systems, has the process, has the products. And I just infuse some cash into you. And by the way, I also bring an aspect of myself because I have 21,000 followers on one of my Facebook accounts. So there's a level. So in me buying in, I also bring marketing expertise. In order to get up to 13 ATMs, I had to promote those. I had to market those. I had to sell those. So I am also not just infusing cash, but there's an opportunity for me to infuse myself into this business if I so did. Strategic partnership. Hey, let's see what we can come up with here. And so that's what I want to stress to people. buying businesses, buying a franchise, looking at a franchise, looking at several franchises and seeing if there's something there. I did an episode on my podcast where I interviewed a gentleman who is a broker of franchises, but he focuses on non-food franchises less than $50,000. So there are franchises that you, me, and us can buy into and invest in that are making six figures already out the gate. And it costs you less than $50,000. And I'm not talking about Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I want to leave people with.
And I'm glad you made that clarification. It doesn't have to be a franchise, but buying into an existing business is good. I remember because I'm still in the insurance space, but I used to first start and I used to be primarily in property and casualty. And one of the benefits of being in the space is I got to see what was real and what was fake. Like when I would be talking to individuals and business owners, I could see the ones who actually had assets and the ones who didn't. And one thing that I discovered, I had a cousin who was in chiropractic school at the time. He's since become a chiropractor. But what was happening was within a relatively short time, I had two chiropractors on the phone. And when I tell you that their assets was loaded to the gills with all these different properties, all these different nice cars, right? And I'm like, all right, this is somebody, they're not faking the funk. I can see that it's real. And I asked them, these are two separate chiropractors, did not know each other as far as I know. And they both said the same thing. I said, well, what's the one advice that you can convey to me to pass on to my cousin that's about to become a chiropractor to where he can get to where you are? And their one advice, both of them, two different people, was buy an existing chiropractic business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's a huge movement, and I'm really proud of it, of more and more entrepreneurs getting out of that phase of I'm gonna start it from scratch. I'm gonna do it twice as good. And you can still put your stank on something by buying an existing business and redoing it. Again, I went to my barber. I just looked in my local community. I didn't do anything extraordinary or special. I just took the owner who I already knew and had a relationship with, and I invited him and his wife out to dinner, and I paid for it. And I just talked to him and his wife about what would that look like for a second shop in this infusion of cash. I have XYZ dollars. What could we come up with? And so it's nothing magical. It's nothing special. It's nothing hard. It's a conversation, but you leverage a lot of expertise. So yeah, for you, I get approached by the regional State Farm agents in my area because they're like, Marcus, why don't you open a State Farm agency, blah, blah, blah. I did State Farm. I had my property and casualty license. I didn't have my series license, but I had property, casualty, and life annuities license. And so that was my next thing. I was going to go for the series 7 and 6 and all of that. But life turned out the way it did. But even in that aspect, I would say to any life insurance agent, because one of the things State Farm agents do is that's what they constantly do. State Farm, because of the demographic, State Farm agents, depending on where they're located in my area, there's a very poor community of people that can't afford their prices. So what a lot of State Farm agents do is they buy existing books of business. So for someone like you or any one of your followers or team members who are watching this, go to Primerica. The next time a Primerica person jumps in your inbox, say, I don't want your business. I don't want your Primerica logo and all of that. But how much would you sell me your book of business, your clientele? Do they have a price? And sell me those leads. Sell me those already existing clients. Because that's what State Farm does. They buy each other's leads. They literally, you'll wake up tomorrow and you'll get a letter from one State Farm agent who's next door to you from an agent who's 2 miles away because he bought that existing book of business from the old State Farm agent. And that's all they do. They just pass around clients and it's an infusion in cash, right? I need some cash. I have clients that you also can sell to. Here's their and here's a dollar amount. Can you meet that dollar amount? Here's XYZ dollars. Now you just have an infusion of 10,000 phone numbers and email addresses and residences. What would that do for your business? So buy. And again, when I say buy a business, you don't have to buy the whole thing. You can buy bits and pieces of it. My property manager, who I no longer work with, she worked for a real estate agency that also did property management. The owners wanted to move to Florida and they were selling the whole business, the real estate side and the property management side. She just bought the property management side. So the husband and wife closed the real estate agency and then just sold her the property management. So when you buy a business, you don't have to buy the whole thing. I don't want the chairs. I don't need the lights. I don't need the building. I don't need the lease. But your leads and your client list may have value to me. So what's that number? Let's talk numbers. What is that number and what are they worth to you?
Eat the meat and spit out the bones. That's what it sounds like. So who is for somebody listening to this podcast, they like what you're saying, and maybe them or maybe somebody they know, who is the ideal person to introduce to Marcus?
To introduce to Marcus? I'll entertain a conversation with anyone. But be open-minded. Be open-minded to real dialogue. I don't have conversations to argue. I don't have conversations to debate anyone. But if you're open to real dialogue and you want to have a real conversation, I'm open to it. But I'm not in any businesses that I'm looking for clientele. My mental health practice does really well. My ATMs do really well. My real estate does really well. The digital real estate that I own now, I don't own any more tangible physical real estate anymore. But I'm not in businesses. I'm looking to scale to the point where I can do more philanthropic things and give back and continue to serve people.
Ah, man, you just hit something. I'm not currently, but I start next year. My next professional designation is Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy. So awesome. Hopefully we stay connected and I can be one of your supporting staff the more you get into that. Last question. What's your definition of success?
My definition of success is not based off of anything that I'm doing right now. My definition of success is, what do people remember you for? So if you died today, if you think about it, if you died today, and if you could picture what people would put on your headstone, if that doesn't make you feel good, what people would write about you or remember you for, then change today. Change that trajectory. You have the ability to change that narrative. So if you're not happy with what you're doing or what people know you for, if you're known for drama, if you're known for, you're known for the drama person, you're known for you're the uncle that people talk about at the family picnic, you're the whoever, and you don't think that narrative would be the type of narrative you want people to remember you for, change it and do something about it and invest in others. And that's what success is to me. It's not about me anymore. It's about what people remember you for and what you leave behind that continues to serve people long after you're gone. And outside of family, even bigger than that, what did you do for the world? And so my aspiration is to leave the world better than how I found it. And that's success for me.
If you die today, are you happy with what they would put on your tombstone? Marcus Norman, are you successful?
I'd be okay. I'd be okay with what people remember me for now. Yes.
Amazing. Hey, Marcus, one last time, tell people who you are and how they can get in touch.
My name is Marcus Norman. You can find me by my name, Marcus Norman, or my podcast, www.gentlemanstylepodcast.com.
All right, man. This has been another episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, the place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. And if you want to watch real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all, make sure you look at the show notes and check out Entreprenudist.com to where you can see Marcus and my beautiful chocolate and caramel faces. Pause, right? You know, I had to give them a visible description of what they're going to see. But if you want to check us out, check out the show notes, visit Entreprenudist.com, and make sure you check out Marcus and everything he has going on, because he doesn't really need any leads right now. But I think his main focus is to inspire. And this has been one of those long episodes because he was dropping so much knowledge. And I'm going to clip this to Kingdom Come. I'm going to have about 50 clips. I'm going to make a lot of money off Marcus. So I appreciate him. All right, man. And thank you so much and have a great day. By the way, he just waved at y'all. You couldn't hear him, but he waved at you.
Bye, y'all. Bye. I appreciate it.